In the last couple of days, I've given you my 2024 predictions for Star Trek and Stargate. But what about all the other big shows we've been talking about this year? What do I predict for those? Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So, I would say there's 5 big shows, returning shows, that I've been talking about this year. The Orville, Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, Firefly, and The Expanse. So there are 15 sources that were very gracious enough to be involved in this little discussion, and they have each told me yes or no whether they think these shows are going to return. So let's kick this straight off with the Orville. First of all, I'm going to tell you that 11 out of 15 of the people I asked said that no, they do not think the Orville is going to return in 2014 or even be announced. Now, we've talked about this a lot, and there has been a bit of a roller coaster. Sometimes it looked like the Orville was going to return, and other times it looked like it didn't. For me, I am going to say that, look, it is still possible that the Orville might return for another season. I still say, as again, many of my sources have been telling me for a while now, that Seth MacFarlane will probably not return for a full season. He's so busy with other projects. He may not even write the series. It would have to basically give his blessing to be taken over by somebody else. I think there are several actors that might not return, and I actually think that it would be a completely different sort of show if it did come back. I'm being told there are people over at Disney that would absolutely love for this to come back, and they really want a show that was a bit more like the first couple of seasons with a little bit more humour. But right now, I think too much time has gone by. I think it is probably more and more likely with each month that goes by that it will not actually return, or definitely at least not in 2024. So my prediction for the Orville, no, we will not get any major news on it in 2024. Babylon 5 is another show that was basically announced 2 years ago, before we knew about the animated movie. J. Michael Straczynski was talking about how the CW had asked him to write a pilot for a new series. Now, since then, the CW has been sold, and I told you that Warner Brothers were actually still very interested, but they were looking for a partner to create the show with. I've told you that they have spoken to Apple, Amazon, and several other of the big streaming services trying to find somebody to team up with to create a new Babylon 5 hard reboot series. I spoke to my sources, and actually 10 out of 15 said no. They don't think Babylon 5 will be announced in 2024, and furthermore, they actually don't think the reboot is going to happen. The general opinion in the industry seems to be that actually there will be more animated movies. That did very well, and Warner Brothers really like the straight-to-DVD model that they've been using for Batman cartoons and stuff for the last few years, and it worked really well for Babylon 5. The fans seem mostly to want that sort of thing as well. They want the original actors to return. They want the original characters. They don't necessarily want a hard reboot. And the feeling generally, again, in the industry is that hard reboots generally don't work. So it would seem to me that Babylon 5 is on the road to nowhere. My prediction for 2024 is that it will not actually get the reboot we were hoping for, but we will see more Babylon 5 in more animated movies, and I think we could even potentially see one in 2024. There's a couple of things I know about that I'm not at liberty to repeat, but just put it this way, I think it's quite likely. Battlestar Galactica. Now, this is one that we can say pretty certainly is going to be returning, and all my sources agree. Actually, this is probably going to be in the studio filming in the next couple of months. We are going to be getting a new series, show run by Sam Esmail, or at least Sam Esmail's going to be in charge, but there probably will be somebody else actually day-to-day show running it. They came pretty close to this before the strikes. It was actually only months away from filming then, over a year ago. This was supposed to be existing within the universe of Ronald D. Moore's version of Battlestar Galactica, and actually was going to also exist within the same universe as a movie. I mention the movie because, again, Me and my sources are pretty much unanimously in agreement that the movie will not be happening. Definitely not in 2024, and actually may be stuck in development hell. We think a movie is possible maybe down the line, but the feeling, again, within the industry and over at the studio involved, is that we really don't think there's an appetite for a movie and a series. So they basically picked one, and the series seems to have won out. That seems to be the most likely thing we're going to see in 2024. Firefly is something that I've spoken to you again about a few times this year. And I've been able to exclusively tell you that Nathan Fillion is actually in very tentative talks about returning with the franchise. That this would be a series of potentially TV movies. That he would do this alongside his work on The Rookie and appearances in, straight cinema movies like he's been doing. But he's actually been talking about this as something he would love to do. If it does happen, it'll be something that he would be very heavily involved in the story side of things. He would come on as an executive producer. Apparently, he has loads of ideas on what he would like to do with the characters. Apparently, he's already spoken to Alan Tudyk, and he would actually return for the first movie. We don't know how that's going to work because, yeah, shish kebabbed, but that would be amazing if he did. But what do my sources think? Well, they actually said it was basically a 7-8 split. And even the people that said, yes, we think we could get an announcement in 2024 were a little bit unsure. This is very, very early on discussions about this possibility. There is something that exactly Nathan Fillion would love to do. The studio believes there's an appetite for it. And the idea of doing these straight to streaming movies really does have legs. That has a possibility. This would be something that would maybe only be 3 or 4 movies. It would be really big events for that streaming provider when they do it. They think there would be massive excitement and it would do very, very well if they get to do it. Now, there are a few issues. Disney currently own the rights, and the conversation is with them. Disney aren't going to be doing this, by the way. This would be something that would appear on the Peacock network in cooperation with Universal. If they can actually get the funding and if they can get everyone to agree, this is something that I think would be very, very popular. And I actually think as a continuation, again, it could be something that the fans would go absolutely crazy for. Firefly was a series that was taken away from us cruelly by Fox way too soon. And it just feels right for a series of TV movies to come back and end the story. Who knows, maybe then we could get some sort of spin-off series, and then we could actually see an exploration of this universe that Joss Whedon created. Now that would be seriously exciting. So I'm going to say this is a definite maybe, but what is my personal prediction? I think this is something that could be announced in 2024, but I do share my sources' hesitation to actually stick my neck out much further than that. This is a very complicated deal, mainly because of Disney. And if it was going to happen, I would be first in line to watch this on whichever platform it appears on. Let's just hope Nathan Fillion gets his wish and that we get our wish for Firefly to return. Finally, The Expanse. Now, this is a complicated little fella. This is a TV series that is currently owned by the Alcon television group. They own the rights to the project. The guys that created it, people like Hawk Ostby and Mark Fergus, have already moved on to other projects, and we're hoping they're going to move on to Stargate. We believe the actual original writers of the novels, Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank, are still hopeful of actually creating their own production company and bringing The Expanse back. But where will it go? Because at the moment, the distribution and production rights are held by Amazon, and Amazon clearly don't want to do more Expanse. Or do they? Well, I've been telling you for about 2 years now, where basically ever since season 6 ended, that there were ideas to do a trilogy of movies at first, and Amazon genuinely did consider that. They decided no, because basically they didn't think they'd do the books justice. They thought doing the books justice would just cost way too much money to produce, and they weren't sure there was the appetite there. The game has come across since and done very well, and actually proven that there is still an appetite for a show like The Expanse. And other companies have shown an interest to Alcon. Alcon has been in conversations, I know for certain, with Warner Brothers and Apple. Both of those companies were interested in doing maybe a spin-off series, something that would actually exist between book 6 and 7, because there was a 25 or 30-year gap between the two books. So they felt that there was lots of the universe to explore. Now, I have been able to tell you that Warner Brothers' interest has waned over time. Basically, they've got enough business issues to worry about in the next 12 months, and The Expanse really is something maybe they didn't want to pursue. But Apple apparently are still interested. So Alcon went to Amazon and said, look, you don't want to do anything with The Expanse. Apple does. We'd like permission to speak to them, please. And apparently, about a month ago, Amazon came back with the answer of, oh no, hold on, hold your horses. We might actually do something with it yet. This threw Alcon completely a curveball. They did not expect Amazon to come back with that response. So where are we at right now? Well, Alcon doesn't know, but The Expanse is pretty much Alcon's biggest thing it owns. It's a TV show that it desperately needs back on screens because basically it's its most valuable asset. And until it can get it back on screens, it really doesn't have much else. So they are desperate to strike a deal with somebody. Amazon apparently have about 8 or 9 months left on their current contract with Alcon, where they have to make a decision. By the end of that time period, the rights revert back to Alcon, and Alcon can do whatever they want with it. But if Amazon decides to do something, they can, and Alcon can't do a damn thing about it. So, fingers crossed. Let's see what the next 8 or 9 months hold. What do we predict? Well, my sources are 14 out of 15 saying that yes, we believe there will be some sort of announcement this year about a new Expanse project. And I tend to agree with them because I think by late summer, the rights revert back to Alcon and they will strike a deal with somebody. And that will be a deal that they will announce very quickly. Daniel Abrams and Ty Frank are desperate for this. Naren Shankar, who's the showrunner, apparently is very interested in partnering with them to create a new production company that would, in partnership with Alcon, make the show. And there are companies like Apple out there that are willing to splash the cash. For me, this is a show that fits Apple perfectly. The tone of the show, etc., would fit it. It's not a massively expensive show to make, and that's the type of thing Alcon like to do. If you think about The Foundation, that is a show that fits Apple perfectly, and to be honest, The Expanse is a very similar show in style and tone. The Silo, again, is a show that fits perfectly with Apple. Not massively expensive to make, but actually they seem to have a knack of really getting every dollar on the screen, and The Expanse was the same. If Apple were to get their hands on this project late summer, I think we'd get an announcement, and I think something would probably be on our screens by 2025. So that is my prediction. At some point this year, we will get an announcement on new Expanse. I don't think Amazon are going to take up this option. I think they're maybe considering it, but I think in the long run, I don't think they will. I think there's other things they want to do. But I think somebody like Apple would. So there we go. The Orville? No, probably not. Babylon 5? No, probably not. Battlestar Galactica series, yes. Movie? No, probably not. Firefly? Maybe, but it's complicated. And The Expanse? We're pretty confident we'll hear something this year. So those are my predictions for 2024. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you're predicting. Do you think any of these projects will get the green light? And actually, if you had to pick one, what would it be? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. You'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where most of our new videos do premiere first, and you'd get to see them without the adverts. Also, go to scitrek.co.uk, which is our dedicated website, and we do stories based on most of our videos. We try to add a little bit more information for you to digest, so go over and check that out too. As always, please stay safe. Happy New Year, and I'll see you soon.